So, what was it like, adapting the comics and bringing this darker version?
It was a lot of fun. It took a lot of work. It was definitely like challenging. Took a lot of research to get it right. But yeah, I'm really proud of it.
So you brought in Magpie, and I do like the switch to Hangman's Purchase, right? You have all these little nods to the comics. When you were approaching this from a comic perspective, how did you kind of navigate what parts you wanted to keep as close to those comic sources possible, and what you wanted to change and make your own for the series?
I mean, when Matt and I first talked about it, he talked about paying homage to the comics in the way that he did in his film, but was not straight up adapting anything specifically. So to me, I took that and ran with it. Like, it was really important for me to put my own stamp on it, because I felt like that's why they brought me in. But I wanted to always make sure we were honoring what came before. So for me, it's the most fun to find little Easter eggs and things. But in a way more than that, like create new canon, like make Sophia her own version of Sophia Falcone. Like from this point on, I hope that, this version of her evolves into something bigger. And that's kind of always the hope when you take something like this on.
We met at the press conference.
Oh, yeah.
in
Hey.
London, and one of the things that we talked about was how it reminded me so much of Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
And how much you took from that. And going forward, I still see little bits and pieces, and like you just said, with the Easter eggs. But is there another property from the Batman universe that you would want to take and go around that same route like with the Penguin?
For me, I always have to just find an emotional connection to it. Like I thought the Penguin was such an interesting character because there hasn't been so many iterations of the Penguin, and I understood this idea of him being an underdog and that ambition, and kind of ran with it from there. I mean, I just think there's so many tremendous comic book characters. I don't know who I'd be allowed to use. It's like there's Mass Universe and there's DC Universe, and I get to be in this sandbox for now, and I don't know beyond that who I
You gotta
get
get
to
Mr. Freeze on the show.
Hey, man. Like, there's so many great characters, right? Yeah.
I know
The response to the show has been incredible, and I'm one of the many people who are thinking you guys are deserving of every Emmy award that is possibly
thank you.
can be awarded to it. I'd just love to get your thoughts on the reaction to the show, those things, and the complimentary calls that people are making who have seen the first 4 episodes so far.
I mean, it's really thrilling and exciting. It's been, for me, I've been working on this for years because it started with me just writing the first episode by myself before I had a writer's room and before I had more actors that we could cast in production and post. And I've seen it all the way through, like every little detail. So it's really heartwarming, honestly. Even though our show's really dark and messed up, it feels really nice. And the best part, truly, and I mean this, is there's so many people who worked so hard on this show, and they're all getting recognized in different ways, whether it's someone being like, oh my God, I can't believe I feel like I'm in Gotham City, or people talking about our amazing cast and like how tremendous their performances are, like the costumes, like there's just so many people that it takes to make a show. So that's been the best, that it's out in the world and people are experiencing it, and like now it's theirs. It's not like our little secret anymore. It's like it's up to the audience now to take it and whatever it means to them.
I want to ask you about all the Sopranos comparisons. Like that one review calling the show like a spiritual sequel to the Sopranos. How do you feel about that? Was there any influence?
Weirdly, there was not a lot of influence for The Sopranos, but I understand the comparison. I mean, it's a very nice thing overall to be compared to like one of the greatest shows on television. We, I feel like, are very different in that we're in Gotham City, we're a comic book show, we're, a grounded crime drama too at the same time. Oz is a very different man. His relationship with his mother, which is a comparison, very different. And I think as the season goes on, we unpack that more specifically. Again, it's like, I don't take that as a bad thing. It's great. But I do feel like we're kind of our own weird little thing.
Hi. When working on the basically Oz's story, whenever Penguin's portrayed, it's always cartoonish, and you've managed to not just visually, but I think also emotionally get this human side behind him. Can you talk about that, kind of like pulling it out, because you almost empathize and feel bad for him, and you're trying to see that spark of good. Can you share just creating writing him as?
For me, I think as a writer, empathy is one of the most important things. And so imagining yourself as that person and imagining who that man is or that woman is and like why they are the way they are, it's really important for me to have people connect to Oz. I really want people to want to watch this man. I don't need them to like agree with everything that he's doing. Certainly, I don't actually want that. I know how charming Colin is as an actor. So for me, I'm like, I want people to lean in and want to keep watching him and understand him deeply. And then if you understand him and sometimes find that you're caring about him, that's great because then you're going on a full journey. And if you start to feel differently about him, you feel like there's a fully realized character there, ideally. So for me, that is the goal, to have people empathize and understand all of our characters and then to show all their flaws and complications and problems too and see what people think. Then it's left up to other people to decide what they think of those people at the end of the day.
Now, I'm going to hold this, but the final episode, I feel like we really needed to get there with Oz. Can you talk about, like, was this your plan from the beginning? I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like, yeah, because I think we needed that.
Yeah, everything that happened in the finale was always part of my original pitch. That was always the vision that I had from the get-go. Because for me, as a writer, it's hard for me to write characters unless I know their backstory. Mm-hmm. So I needed to know everyone's backstory, whether you fully see it or not on our show. And for me, I needed to know where we're going emotionally for Oz, especially as you were saying before. It's like when you're asking people to empathize with a character, when you want people to continue to watch every week and engage with them, it's a journey. So how does that journey end for a show like ours? How do we feel fully satisfied, whether it's like a positive satisfaction or not, by this man, that we really understand him in a deeper way? So that was always out of the gate the trajectory that I knew Oz would take. So an inevitability in a way. Yeah.
Great.
We talked to the premiere about my favorite part of this show, or the connection to the Batman, is that Oz speaks Spanish canonically, and it continues on in this show. I think that's a very funny thing. But I also love that while he is not the comedic relief of his own show, that comedy that Oz had in the Batman still is part of his character. When you were working on the show and making sure that that part of Oz still existed in his own version of Batman, how did you and Colin kind of navigate where those moments would happen in his descent towards his villain era as it is by the end?
I mean, comedy is really important to me. I think also the world in its darkest moments can be kind of funny, but in like a certain tone of comedy. That's what I love so much about what Matt did in his film with Oz, is that he did bring a lightness to like a very dark film. And I wanted to create more of that and like dig deeper into that, of like, what kind of humor does Oz have? Who does he degrade when it serves him? Like, he's a guy who says whatever the hell he wants whenever he wants. So it's also very fun for me to be able to write a character like that. But it has to feel true to him and not feel like it's a joke for a joke's sake. It has to feel relevant to that moment and something that I feel like he would say. So Colin's also so talented at comedy. Like, his comedic timing is so excellent, and I think he's underrated in that way. So whenever you write something on the page that you're like, I think this could work, it's a sly little thing here, and then he's moving on, like, Colin just nails it and elevates it in such a spectacular way. Like, I'm really so honored to write for him, and it's really fun, truly, to just watch him take after take, see what he's going to do next, because it's unpredictable. Every time it's a little different, and it's always great.
So we only have one more question, and I kind of have a two-parter for you, if that's okay.
Sure.
The first one is the end of this Sunday's episode. Like, you're kind of doing Penguin's Lair, it seems like you're introducing us to. So A, I'd love to hear about the idea behind introducing that part of Oz's life and this place for him to live and grow. And then also going off of that, like with things like that in mind and what Tessa was asking you about, the destination you have for Oz. In big moments like that define this Gotham world, that define these characters, how did you work with Matt to like collaborate in any way, both following the Batman and leading into what he might be doing?
Well, for the first question, it was important for me to have a space that felt like an underground sewer-like environment for Oz, to pay homage to the comics and things like that, but doing it in a grounded way, to have it built from a childhood experience that he had, and also smartly give him access to the city and be able to do what he does literally without anyone knowing and being able to like figure out how he's moving around the city. It just felt right and connected. And obviously we start to unpack more of the meaning of that place and all of that and to kind of loop it into his origin story. And then in terms of like larger decisions of, like it was me coming to Matt saying, hey, I would like Sophia to come from Arkham State Hospital. Here's why. Can I do that? And he was on board with things like that. So we would have discussions like that. It would be mostly like me or my writers. We'd be talking about stuff, pitch an idea, and if I really loved it, I would go to Matt and be like, hey, here's the whole pitch. Here's why I want to do this. Like, what do you think? And does this hurt or does it help? How can I help build to the movie? He and I always were on the same page of where we needed to leave Oz in terms of this rise to power story. He had to he had to get to a certain level of power for sure. It's just how he did it and then what the cost was I had a lot of freedom there, which was fun. And Matt's like the best collaborator. So
The show's amazing. Great work.
Yeah,
thanks.
it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.